Welcome to Unit 6.1, The Joy Protocol. I'm Diana Lindsay. The end of the world comes to all of us just one time, but the world seems to end for us a whole lot more often. It's easy to imagine that during a real crisis, a crisis where life is in danger, that we could turn to the ones we love and feel a greater appreciation and deep love of life. It's a lot harder to think that that could be joyful. And yet for me, from the time of my cancer diagnosis on, I believe that both love and joy have been pivotal to my getting better. I was really influenced in this by a man named Norman Cousins. I read his book, The Anatomy of an Illness, when I got cancer the first time in 1993. In 1964, Cousins was diagnosed with a rare disease in his connective tissue. When his doctor admitted that Cousins only had a 1 in 500 chance of making a full recovery, he decided to be more than a passive observer. He checked himself out of the hospital with the agreement of his doctor and started to do his own research and reasoning into how he might get well. 10 years before, Cousins had also been influenced by a book, this time the classic work of Hans Selye that started our modern-day understanding of the impact of stress on health, called The Stress of Life. Cousins reasoned, if negative emotions produce negative chemical changes in the body, wouldn't the positive emotions produce a positive chemical change? Is it possible that love, hope, faith, laughter, confidence, and the will to live have therapeutic value? Cousins decided that those positive emotions were within his reach. They were something that he had control of, even if he couldn't get out of bed. And he turned to laughter, specifically movies. He started a movement. He understood that 10 minutes of belly laughter gave him 2 hours worth of pain. And when he discovered this, he said it was absolutely exhilarating. I recommend you watch this short clip on YouTube of Cousins so you get a feeling of this man that started this movement. For those of you who watched my WOW Talk, you may remember that the first week after learning I had cancer, I invited my friends to a love-in. Now, this invitation was not part of a grand vision for healing because I simply had none. It was purely pragmatic. I couldn't face telling my friends one by one what was happening to me. I reasoned if they all came to my house at the same time, I'd only have to stand for 2 hours. But instead, we danced, hugged, laughed, and sang for as much as 6 hours. And when it was over, I was radiant. I felt better. Yet there had been no medical intervention. Dancing, hugging, laughing, singing must be my healing plan when my own reasoning kicked in. When my oncologist the next day said he didn't have a plan and couldn't cure me, I remembered Cousins. Maybe I too could bring the positive chemistry to work. I called it my joy protocol. I was good at joy. I had good energy flowing through me, even though I had no knowledge of Eastern energy medicine. My family and my community had shown me unconditional love. As one of you pointed out, I was already a very lucky woman. The joy protocol to me was never about putting on a happy face. Even though I was raised with my father quoting The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, I was not interested in denying my anxiety nor my grief. I accepted my diagnosis. I just rejected my prognosis. But I gave myself a break. I figured terminal cancer came with a 100% anxiety quotient. If I could find even 5 minutes a day of genuine joy, that would be fantastic. And I wanted to know if I cultivated, tendered, nurtured, and valued joy as much as I could, would it help me through this course that Western medicine deemed impossible? As I studied the chemistry of my joy protocol, I discovered that many different chemicals and energy patterns did boost the immune system. But would they be enough alone to conquer the tumor burden of stage 4 lung cancer? Well, no one knew. There wasn't a study that took into account all the variables I was trying, and in fact, there never would be one. But it turned out to be enough. my tumor continued to shrink and shrink. The more it did, I became very interested in two questions. How effective was each of these individual agents in boosting the immune system? Or was this agent just helping the Tarsiva locate and reach its destination on the cell? Did it only improve the quality of my life, which immediately returned to high levels, or was it strong enough to help me against the tumor itself? And what about the synergy between them? How effective was 4 miles of walking, 20 minutes of laughter, a smoothie, and 10 hugs worth in any given day? I set out very purposely then to find love and joy. My first source was play. Martin Buber said that play is the exaltation of the possible, and that sentiment exhilarated me. This exhilaration was easy because I had a young baby granddaughter who knew only the properties of play. I also had children, nieces, nephews, friends, and a husband with a wonderful sense of humor. So laughing, playing, singing, dancing, goofing around, doing the unexpected, all became within my reach. And I found great joy in moving, in anything that got me outdoors, in getting stronger through walking, at first just up the hill behind our house, but eventually up to 9 miles a day. To walking, we added hiking, canoeing, kayaking, biking, not a regimen I ever associated with stage 4 lung cancer. This is what brought me joy, but what brings you joy? What brings most people joy? A wonderful video to watch is Happy, produced in 2011. Happy goes from the swamps of Louisiana to the slums of Calcutta in search of what makes people happy. It combines real-life stories with research, and I think you'll really enjoy the experience. Now, what happened to Cousin's original instinct and research? One of the men who's done an enormous amount to further this is Martin Seligman. In 2004, Seligman gave a TED Talk where he talked about how the last 60 years of psychology had done much to help those who were miserable, but it only brought them to the point of zero. It could not make them happy. It didn't deal with positive interventions, and Seligman wanted to know whether you could move the dial to the right. He wanted to know whether we could create a positive psychology just as concerned with human strength as weakness, just as concerned with building strength as repairing damage, and interested in the skills of happiness, engagement, and meaning. At the time, during the 2004 TED Talk, he talked about 3 states of happiness. The pleasant life, which is what most of us associate with happiness. That was positive emotion, the feeling well, the feeling better that I had experienced. But he discovered that there was a drawback with it. 50% was inheritable and not adaptable, and that furthermore, it habituates rapidly. So he went on to uncover 2 more states, the engaged life, that dealt more from your strengths, that tried to find a time of intense concentration and love and flow, and the meaningful life that came from knowing your highest strengths and using them in the service of something larger. And he discovered early on that the first one did not correlate with an ongoing sense of happiness, but that the next 2 did. So Seligman broadened his research, invited anyone to take his questionnaires on the UPenn website. When he started, you can see that happiness fit under positive emotions. Engagement was more than just flow, but character strengths. And relationships were put under the banner of meaning. Now, his own ideas evolve, which we're going to see soon in video 6.3. But first, let's take a look at the chemistry of love. Before we do, take a moment to write in your own journal 2 things that made you happy today and how they made your body feel when they did. If you keep this up for a week, you'll find that you start to feel happy because it in itself is enough to begin that process. And as soon as you can, gift yourself the time to just have a beautiful day. Do you like to plan ahead? Do you like to live in the moment? Did it turn out the way you expected? And how did it feel like to savor it? And we'll see you in the next video.